Trent Plaisted. What's up, Trent?
What's up, guys? I'm happy to be here. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. We were students at the same time at BYU.
You remember
back in the day,
by the way?
No kidding. You aged really well. Much better than me. much better than me.
And you've made more money than I have. You recently retired. You hung it up. So why the decision to retire? And now what are you doing?
Well, you know, I was in Japan to start the season, and at the preseason I had a partially torn Achilles on my right side, and we were waiting for it to heal, and it just didn't get the job done. And we waited 3 months, and the team said, "Listen, Trent, we're struggling right now. We need to move on." And so they released me, and I came home, and I went and got it checked out by actually one of the BYU doctors, Dr. Rich, and it still had not healed. And I was thankfully on a guaranteed contract in Japan. And so I'm actually getting paid from Japan up and through June, and I just figured it was, you know, what better time to transition into normal life when you have a little bit of a buffer.
Sure.
And so I made a decision at that time. I'm actually a loan officer now at First Colony Mortgage, so I do home loans. And so I'm getting started with that, and I'm full bore into it, and I'm just, you know, I'm trying to get my footing, and it's really exciting. I'm a little bit terrified because the real world is not my thing, you know what I mean? But I'm excited about it too.
Speaking of things that are exciting, we have been told that you have actually attended a Nickelback concert.
Oh, I did.
Let's discuss.
And without shame, I attended it.
When was this? Early 2000s?
Listen,
in their heyday.
My brother went to college at Texas A&M, and I went up there and helped him move into his apartment or out of his apartment. And as my reward, he took me to a Nickelback concert on campus.
In College Station.
In College Station. And I was there, and we were jamming out. And I was proud of it. And listen, I had a good time. I mean, I'm not ashamed. I mean, I know that's kind of taboo now if you like Nickelback, but listen, everybody liked Nickelback then.
Yes,
they were
50
million albums, Trent. You don't sell that many if people don't like you.
They were one of the top bands out at that time. Now it's like,
I don't disagree on that. Yeah.
But listen, it's like when I was in middle school, like if you admitted you liked NSYNC, you were
right.
Oh my gosh.
We all liked NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, man. They were awesome.
Everybody liked them. You know what I mean? That was what Nickelback was like. Now if you liked them, it was taboo. But listen, I'm with Heath Schroyer on that one.
He just said it in 2018 without cracking a smile. That's my issue. Okay, let's talk BYU Hoops. So we're in this new era, and I want to ask you a little later about kind of West Coast Conference versus Mountain West thing. But what do you think about this year's team so far, from what you've seen?
Well, you know, what's unfortunate is I think a lot of fans, because their position is the same, disregard the improvements that they've made. I mean, I know like to think I'm a basketball guy, and I know a little bit more than your average basketball person, or not average fan, I should say. But last year it was kind of hard to watch because they were so up and down. They didn't play a lot of defense, and watching this year, their style is just so much, what I would say, more pure. Like they respect the game more. And so I enjoy watching them. I enjoy watching them play. Now, obviously, the results they're still in third place for the WCC, and I think that's got a lot of people a little bit upset. But I think if they continue on this trend, the results are going to be there at the end of the day. You know, maybe it's not going to be this year, but down the line, and they've got a good team moving forward.
In terms of competition and fit, what do you think is maybe the biggest difference from when BYU is in the Mountain West to now being in the West Coast Conference?
Well, one of the things that's hard about the West Coast Conference is Gonzaga and St. Mary's have been at the top of that conference every year since it started. In the Mountain West, there was actually some parity. I mean, BYU, we were pretty good for a stretch there, but it kind of revolved a little bit. Like there was a while San Diego State was good, and UNLV and Air Force, and so there weren't two teams every year that were at the top like that. And I think St. Mary's and Gonzaga, it's almost like in their DNA, like, listen, we're at the top of this thing. And not only is it in their DNA, it's in everybody else's DNA. Like, hey, listen, these two teams are at the top of this thing. And BYU has had to come in and try to unseat those two. And it hasn't really been successful to this point, but that's what they're working towards. And like I said, with the style changes they've made this year, I think they're on the right track.
Trent, it's really weird because in this league, I respect the heck out of Gonzaga.
Right.
But St. Mary's, for some reason, it's like, no, BYU should be on that level.
Yep.
But in the Mountain West, it was, we respect UNLV, Air Force, New Mexico, Utah, San Diego. There was just more respect. In this league, it's like any loss to non-Gonzaga St. Mary's just not tolerated. We never did this in the Mountain West. How do you feel about that dynamic?
I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, you're setting them up. I mean, like if you put up somebody in front of those teams that often, they're probably going to lose. I mean, I know people will say, well, St. Mary's and Gonzaga don't lose to those teams, and you know what? They're right. But but you know, it's just hard. I mean, BYU plays in the Marriott Center. It's 20,000 people, and they sell out. I mean, they sell 15,000 seats a game. You go from that to Loyola Marymount, where there's like 1,000 people in the stand. That's a hard transition for college kids to do, and it's, you know, I don't want to try to offer too many excuses for them. I mean, I'm obviously an advocate for the players and the coaches of the basketball team, but
And Nickelback.
and Nickelback, you know, hopefully that doesn't ruin my credibility. But yeah, I mean, it's a hard transition, and the thing about the Mountain West is it was a great. When I was in the Mountain West, I think, and those are like the glory years of the Mountain West. But if you look at the Mountain West today, compared to the WCC, I think it's at wash, if not the WC is a better conference.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And right now you have 2 top 15 teams in
Yeah.
the league, and
Yeah.
Gonzaga carries the banner. I think when BYU got into the league, we thought, and Jimmer kind of, in a way, helped and ruined this.
And he's done that for a lot of things. Because, I mean, I've talked to so many people, and they say, oh, man, ever since Jimmer left, you know, I mean, like, it hasn't been the same for me. And I understand. I mean, that guy
We had a good time, man, when he was here.
I
It
mean,
was great.
he was the rock star of all rock stars, and he still is. You know, he's just doing it in China, and I love the guy, but I understand that, and so there's somewhat of a lapse in that way. But I mean, if you're comparing things to the Jimmer time, I mean, you're going to be wanting in a lot of ways.
We've
because
had
that was the
2
height.
Sweet 16s
Yeah.
and like 30 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
From back when you played in that group of players, who are you still in contact with? Did you have kind of like your favorite teammate that you're still in contact with?
Well, the guy I'm closest to, without a doubt, is Lee Kamard. I mean, me and him we talked to each other off the ledge over in Europe on numerous occasions. And so, yeah, he's my guy, and he's one of my best friends, and probably always will be. He's a great person, but I mean, I loved all my teammates. You know, it's kind of been fun to be home, and like I've recently got on Twitter. I'm a tweeter now. I've got a massive following of 320.
That'll increase
gonna
after
grow
being on the
today.
show.
That will grow today.
And I've reconnected with some of my teammates. Like I heard from Derek Dawes the other day. I heard from Jimmy Ballerson. I've heard from Sam Burgess. You know, these are guys that I loved. You know, but obviously I was across the pond and they were here, and that's why me and Lee have remained so close, is because we were going through similar experiences. And so, but yeah, if I was to single out one, it would definitely be Lee.
Lee does. I think he needs to wear a jersey on the bench. Though the suit, it doesn't look like Lee.
Well, no. The one thing I think he does need to change is he wears that big old tie that takes up half. He needs to convert.
Skinny tie?
He played in Europe for 6 years. I'm really surprised that he didn't pull
Wear
out
those
the skinny
European
tie.
ties.
He wears that big, massive kite. You know what I mean? That he's got going down the front of his shirt.
Yeah. Well,
You
Trent.
realize you're going to hear from Lee after.
Yeah.
Oh, I
you-
know I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That was a shot on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, Trent, great to catch up with you. Great to hear from you, and appreciate the insight, man.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
What's your Twitter handle so people can follow you?
Oh, it's T Placed 44, I think.
Okay, T-Placed 44. Check him out on Twitter. Trent Plaisted, back in the house. Always good to have the former guys.